Right, hello social media. So I'd like to make this video about the flu world order and also the chameleon virus, which basically is what it is, because they change the story depending on what we believe in. Right, okay. So myself and other people have shared on YouTube and other social media platforms how there was the different meetings that were going on just prior to this chameleon virus, and how many we had event 201, which was a simulated exercise, and there's been lots of military meetings with NATO, etc. I've made videos about them in on my other videos, so go and check them out if you want to see what I'm talking about. So 3 days before this Gates simulated exercise occurred, there was a report that was dated September 2019, which is just 3 months before World Health Organization first mentions about this chameleon virus. So, and this report comes from the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board. Now, who's even heard of this Global Preparedness Monitoring Board? Co-convened by World Health Organization and the World Bank, financially supported by Gates and the German government, as well as the Wellcome Trust, with involvement from universities and the usual crowd. Now, some of the members of this group are also the Chinese CDC, Dr. Gao, G-A-O, the Director General of the Chinese CDC, Anthony Fauci, the Gates Foundation and the Wellcome Trust. These are all members of this Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, who released a report 3 months before all of this chameleon virus kicked off, convened by World Health Organization and the World Bank, funded by Gates and the Wellcome Trust. Are we getting this? Okay, so this is 3 months before. Now, progress indicators by September 2020 include the United Nations, including World Health Organization, conducts at least 2 system-wide training and simulation exercises, including one for covering the deliberate release of a lethal respiratory pathogen. And the ultimate objectives of this report go on: the tools and system needed to respond effectively to a fast-moving and lethal respiratory pathogen are in place. A universal influenza vaccine is effective and routine used to protect the global population. New therapeutics and broad-spectrum antivirals are widely available to treat and reduce mortality from a range of viruses. Novel pathogens are routinely identified and sequenced, and the sequences are shared on a globally accessible website. Distributed manufacturing of vaccines, including nucleic acid types, begins within days of obtaining new sequences, and effective vaccines are pre-tested and approved for use within weeks. It also states the Secretary General of the United Nations convenes a high-level dialogue with health, security and foreign affairs officials to determine how the world can address the threat of a lethal respiratory pathogen pandemic, as well as for managing preparedness for disease outbreaks in complex. The Chinese CDC helped to form the report. It's obvious that they've agreed upon the fact that it was to begin in China. In fact, these plans have long been in place, as we can see. The Chinese CDC Director General also was at the event 201. So you've got the Chinese CDC involved in a report saying that we need to do a test of all this. We've got the same person at the exercise pandemic mock-up involving them all. This is evidence that all the agencies that are involved in this so-called pandemic, including the UN, World Health Organization, governments, health departments, all of them, they were all informed by this Global Preparedness Board in September that for the next year, up until September 2020, they would be having 2 tests, one of which to have a global response to a lethal virus that causes a pandemic, and that the objectives that they had in that report were the exact same objectives that we're having for this pandemic. Can you see what this is implying? Commit to this. They basically have got to put all the resources in, financial or domestic resources, to commit to this sustainable goals from the UN, and also the state that the countries will have completed an assessment for their capacities by July. And then another progress indicator by September 2020 is that a minimum of 59 countries that have completed a NAPHS, so they would have had it audited by July of 2019, and then they have to come up with a plan. In my next video, I'd like to cover the contact tracing subject and how the NHS in the UK have sold our data to the CIA-fronted company Palantir for £1, and how that will actually affect us as far as these phone apps and data collection goes. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Stay vigilant.